Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Cassandra and I'm going to take you through this shoulder flexibility and mobility flow. So personally for me, my shoulders is usually where I tend to have the most amount of tightness, and I don't have as much range of motion in my shoulders as I do in some of my other joints, like my hips, for example. So if you struggle with stiffness and tightness here, I totally relate, totally understand. And these are the poses that definitely help the most when I practice them consistently. So repeating this flow over time will definitely get you a little bit more fluidity and ease through your shoulders as well as through your chest and your upper back. Now, for this class, you are going to need one prop. I'm just using a regular yoga strap. If you don't have a strap at home, please don't worry about it. You can just grab a big belt. You can even grab like a long scarf would work, or if you've ever used those physiotherapy therabands, those work amazingly as well. You just want something fairly long that you can grab a hold to. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder flossing, which is really phenomenal for your shoulders overall. So before we get into that, you can just leave your prop, your strap, or your belt to the side, and we're going to begin lying down on our backs. I want to teach you a breathing technique that's really wonderful at just bringing some awareness to our shoulders. And if you have a lot of tightness here, like I do, you'll probably get a stretch even just from this breathing technique. So laying all the way down, you can reach your arms up overhead. And even if you start with your feet flat to the floor, notice how when you reach your arms up overhead, for a lot of us, what happens is that our lower back pops off of the floor. So what I want you to do is to push your lower back into the mat and to try to keep the back of your palms pushing onto the floor. If your shoulders are really tight like mine are, just from doing this, you might already be feeling a stretch into your shoulders. You can make this a little bit harder by straightening your legs. You still want to keep your lower back in contact with the mat, your shoulders pushing down, the back of your arms and the back of your palms pressing down. So what we're going to do here is we're going to inhale and exhale through the nose. When you inhale, I want you to try to fill your lower belly with breath. So big inhale through the belly. And as you exhale, I want you to push your rib cage down. So I want you to imagine someone was pressing down on your chest and you're pulling and pushing those ribs back down. Inhale to the belly, exhale, push the rib cage down. And it's hard to talk while I do this just because of the flow of the breath. But by doing this, you should be feeling some kind of activation through your chest and through your upper back. So we'll do a few rounds of this. Inhale into your nose, balloon up through your belly, and keep the belly lifted as you exhale through your chest. Trying to press the rib cage down. Inhale a little more through your belly. Exhale, squeeze the rib cage down, push into the back of your hands. Take a few more rounds here at your own pace. So we want our lower belly to kind of be sticking out and ballooning out. We're trying to compress through the chest and through the upper back instead. 2 more. Try to keep your lower back flat. And release. Bend your elbows at 90-degree angles in little cactus shapes. Bend your knees if your legs were out straight, and we'll just take a little twist so you can move your hips a couple inches to the right before letting both knees and thighs drop over to the left. So just a little spinal twist here. Keep pushing your right shoulder blade into the floor. And I'm really curious, I would like for you guys to leave a comment to let me know if you felt that breathing exercise, if you noticed it through your shoulders and upper back. For me, that's very, very intense, but for others, you might not be feeling much. So I'm just curious to see how that landed for you guys. And twist to the other side. So move your hips over to the left a little. Drop both knees down to the right. That breathing technique is a great way to engage the diaphragm as well. And bring your knees back up to center, and you can rock up just to take a seat, either cross-legged or kneeling, and grab a hold of your belt or your strap. And we're going to do a little bit of shoulder flossing. So again, because my shoulders are quite tight, I'm really using pretty much the entire length of my strap in order to be able to do this by keeping my elbows straight. So you want to have your arms out, grabbing a hold of your prop, and you're going to inhale to lift all the way up, and exhale, really slowly feel that going down. If you need to bend your elbows, it's okay. They don't need to be perfectly straight, but if you're able to keep it straight, you're going to keep them that way. And then you inhale to come back up, and exhale to lower it down. As much as possible, try to keep your rib cage neutral so you're not flaring up and back every time you do this. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, lifting back up. For me, always the hardest part. And exhale to lower. Do a few more here. Really slow. And the next time you do it, you might want to pause in a stickier part and just hold for a full breath round. Before finalizing and lowering. And same thing, as you come back up, you might want to pause and take a full breath before finishing your cycle all the way up and down. Shrug your shoulders a few times, let that go. And let's make our way onto hands and knees. We'll set up for puppy pose. Truly, by far, this is the number one pose that helps me with my shoulder flexibility and mobility. So a few different options. The easiest way to do this, you're just going to keep your hips over your knees. You're going to walk your hands out, and you're going to try to bring your forehead down to the floor. If the shoulders are really tight, you can bend your elbows so that your forearms are flat to the mat. If you're working a little bit deeper into this pose, the way I like to do it is to actually grab a hold of my mat on the edges, and I'm bringing my chin down towards the floor. So obviously, if the mobility is not quite there yet, this will not be appropriate for you. So you need to keep your forehead down on the floor. Chin is not appropriate for everyone, especially if you feel this in your neck. I never, ever, ever want you to feel this as strain in your neck. But we're taking about 5 deep breaths here, whichever version of this pose you've chosen. Try to relax between your shoulder blades. One more big deep breath. Then you can slide onto your belly, take your time. We'll take a laying chest opener. I'm going to do the left side first. It'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing. So from your stomach, you can open up your arm. Take a 90-degree angle here. So there's a bend in my left elbow. My palm is flat to the floor. And I'm going to roll onto my left hip, left shoulder, and left ear, trying to keep my left shoulder down on the mat. So I'm relaxing my head here. And my right hand is either pushing into the floor to help me rotate a little bit deeper, or you can also bring your right hand towards your lower back. You can also step your right foot back behind you to deepen the intensity of this pose. We're looking for sensation into the left pectoral muscle, into our left shoulder, down into the left bicep and upper arm. And for some people, maybe a little bit at the back of the shoulder as well. So it should never be painful. Just enough that you can feel the stretch and keep your breath slow and steady. And let's release, come back through to center. We'll go do that pose to the other side. So you can bring your right forearm flat to the floor with your elbow bent at about a 90-degree angle. Palm is pressing onto the mat. I'm going to roll onto my right shoulder, right hip, and right ear. I like to bend my knees, makes it easier to hold this pose. Either pushing your left hand into the floor, bringing your left hand towards your lower back, and maybe stepping that left foot back behind you. It's just providing a little bit more weight. Try not to push too far here. Less is more. Try to relax your facial muscles and your jaw. Make sure you're not holding your breath. And let's release back through to center. And you can push back up onto hands and knees. We're going to lower our forearms down to the mat, coming into our dolphin pose. So this is like a downward facing dog, but down on your forearms. This is both a shoulder stretch and a shoulder strengthening pose. So forearms come down. You want to stay about a little bit more narrow than shoulder width distance apart. So I want to be able to kind of grab a hold of my biceps. That's how I know I have the right distance. Palms flat to the floor, tuck your toes under, and lift your hips up and back. So I'm not as much focused on stretching at the back of my legs here, not as much focused on my hamstrings. Instead, I can bend my knees and I'm trying to press my chest towards my thighs to really activate and engage through that shoulder girdle. And you can keep the crown of your head lifted off the floor. Keep pushing your palms into the mat. Don't worry about getting your heels down. Truly doesn't matter here. Keep the focus on your shoulders. And let's release. Knees come down to the mat, come back up, tabletop pose. And let's find our full downward dog from here. So palms shoulder width distance apart, feet hip width distance apart. Lift your hips up and back. And see if you can find that same range here of pressing your chest towards your thighs, not worrying so much about your hamstrings and your legs and your heels. Really focus on opening and stretching through your upper body. And we're going to walk forward to the top of the mat for our ragdoll fold. So walk your feet and you can widen your feet towards the edges of your mat. Again, not worrying about our legs so much, keeping the emphasis on our upper body. Bend your knees and you can interlace your hands behind your lower back. You can use your strap if you're unable to grasp and hold onto your knuckles here. And we're going to lift knuckles up and over. Try to relax your head, relax your neck. And then go ahead and lean onto your right thigh. So I'm bringing my right shoulder over to my right thigh and I'm lifting my left shoulder up, kind of looking underneath my left shoulder. So just stretching one more than the other. Come back through to center, switch the clasp of your hands so you have the other thumb on top. And this time we're going to rock over onto our left thigh, our left shoulder. Roll your right shoulder up and lift it up a little higher, maybe looking up towards the right. Back through to center and release. Release your arms down. Maybe hold onto your elbows and sway a little side to side. And we'll come to take a seat, so however you'd like to get there. We'll finish with little eagle arms, Garudasana arms. So you can bend your elbows out in front of you, 90-degree angle, and you're going to wrap your right arm under your left, binding once or binding twice. Press your shoulders down, Keep your elbows up and move your hands away from you, and then you can also tuck your chin to your chest. Lift your head back up through to center. Release the arms, open into a little cactus stretch. Squeeze your shoulder blades behind you. And we'll do the other side. Left arm under your right once or twice. Shoulders down, elbows up, hands moving away from you, and then tucking your chin down. One more deep breath through your upper back. And releasing, open up, lift through your heart. And let it go. Roll your shoulders a few times, whatever feels good here. And we'll bring our hands together at the heart. Let's close our practice by chanting Om one time together. Inhale to chant. Breathe in. Om. Thank you so very much, everyone, for doing this yoga practice specifically designed to target and open up your shoulders. I know I certainly feel it. I would love to know how this practice went for you. And I really am curious to know if you felt the breathing exercise that we did at the beginning of class. Yeah, just let me know how that one went for you. Please subscribe, and hopefully I'll be practicing again with you very soon.